Welcome to our April Wellbeing webinar on the topic of building resiliency to manage life's curveballs, brought to you by Univera Healthcare. With April being National Stress Awareness Month, we thought it was the perfect opportunity to leverage one of our own internal behavioral health experts to discuss the topic of resiliency and how to cope with stress, anxiety, and burnout, especially in today's fast-paced environment. So we are so excited to have so many of you who are here today joining and interested in learning more about this topic. So I, of course, want to start out by thanking each of you for taking the time to join us here today for our fourth webinar, part of the Understanding Your Wellbeing webinar series, brought to you once again by Univera Healthcare that launched in 2025. My name is Katie Keller-Burgess, and I am part of the wellbeing team here at Univera Healthcare. So I will be the host for today's webinar, teeing up our guest speaker, Dr. Anne-Marie Mikowski, who will be presenting our Building Resiliency to Manage Life Curveballs webinar. So first, a few housekeeping items that I do want to start us off with here today. Please note that today's webinar and all of our 2025 wellbeing webinars are being recorded and they are being housed on our Univera Healthcare YouTube page. So if you need to go back and listen to maybe this webinar or access past webinars or maybe future webinars in the future, you have that on-demand access to those monthly wellbeing webinars directly on that YouTube page. Another housekeeping item that I do want to call out is that all participants' microphones and cameras are automatically disabled. There will be time at the end of today's webinar for questions with Dr. Mikowski. So if you do have any questions at any point throughout today's webinar, please feel free to ask them and enter them in the Q&A with the Q&A feature in Microsoft Teams. So at the top of your meeting, you should have a few icons, one of them being that Q&A. And once again, that is where we are asking you to input any questions throughout, and we will get to them at the end. And last but not least, it is important to note that the content that we are covering here today is educational in purpose. So if you do have any specific health-related question or concern, we do recommend that you connect with your primary care provider. Or if you do have any specific benefit-related question or concern, we do recommend that you call the customer care number that is on the back of your Univera Healthcare member ID card. All right, so with those housekeeping items out of the way, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our guest speaker for today's webinar, as mentioned, Dr. Anne-Marie Mikowski. Dr. Mikowski is a board-certified adult psychiatrist and one of our behavioral health medical directors here at the health plan. She attended Canisius College for her undergraduate education prior to obtaining a medical degree at Des Moines University College of Osteopathic Medicine. She then returned home to complete a psychiatry residency program at the Jacobs School of Medicine in Biomedical Sciences at the University of Buffalo. So at SUNY Buffalo, Dr. Mikowski went on to teach numerous dietetics for medical students and residents. She also provided clinical and psychotherapy supervision for general psychiatry residents at the Erie County Medical Center Behavioral Health Clinic. Additionally, Dr. Mikowski has been recognized as a regional top doctor in psychiatry by the Buffalo Spree magazine for multiple years. And on top of all that, she also works as a clinical assistant professor in psychiatry, providing clinical supervision and teaching cognitive behavioral therapy curriculum to psychiatry residents as volunteer faculty. So in her personal life, she does currently live in Western New York with her husband and 3 children. In addition to, of course, cheering on our beloved Buffalo Bills, she enjoys reading, traveling, and leading a Girl Scout troop through the many adventures that they go on. So once again, Dr. Mikowski, we are so thrilled and appreciative to have you here with us today. With that being said, I will turn the stage over to you.
Thank you so much, Katie. It's really nice to be here. I love this topic, talking about resiliency. It is really fantastic. And I think we've been through a lot these last few years. So ways to improve this are always very appropriate. So things on our agenda today, talking about what is stress, the difference between stress and anxiety. What is burnout? That's kind of a buzzword that we hear a lot. What are the causes of burnout and what does it look like? And then how do we prevent burnout? Also, when to get help and what is resiliency? How do we build resiliency? What are some strategies for that? And then we'll go through some additional resources and benefits. So, what is stress? First off, we have positive stress and negative stress. Everyone experiences occasional stress. And when it's positive, it can be a force that motivates our behavior. It might include common things, including relationships, finances, or major life events related to school, work issues, or health. Feeling stress can be common and it can be normal. It motivates behavior and encourages us to problem solve when something is happening. It helps us meet a challenge. Despite this, when somebody has long term or chronic stress, that can have some consequences on health and well being. So, stress can cause the following feelings of fear, anger, sadness, worry, and frustration. Physical reactions like headaches, body aches, stomach problems can be common, even skin rashes. Sometimes changes in sleep patterns or nightmares, or the worsening of some chronic other health problems, and more. Long term effects of stress can be negative, and we can see a range of different mild to more intense issues happening. Things like physical problems like high blood pressure or hypertension, or even depression if it is not addressed. So, what's the difference between stress and anxiety? This is a question that often comes up. They're both emotional responses, and sometimes there's sort of a fine line between understanding the two. Stress is usually caused by an external trigger, so in response to a specific event, and anxiety can sometimes manifest in different ways or for different reasons. So, external events that could be job related, family issues, health issues like getting sick. Typically, stress will dissipate, it'll go away once that threatening, difficult situation has passed. It can also show up as tension from just accumulation of everyday events. And everyone sort of experiences stress in different ways. What might be stressful for one person might be energizing or enjoyable for someone else. Symptoms of stress can sometimes include insomnia, difficulty with sleep, concentration, feelings of fatigue or tension, even irritability. Anxiety can be persistent or excessive worries that don't go away and often show up in the absence of a particular stressor. They can continue after a threat has passed. Um, Everyone experiences this in different ways as well. And some of those symptoms really do overlap with stress. We can also see those sleep problems, fatigue, tensions, and mood changes like irritability. Burnout, the buzzword burnout, right? What is burnout? It's characterized by three different dimensions, a series of experiences that can occur in relationship to workplace day-to-day stress. Typically, we are talking about burnout in the context of our work life. So, the World Health Organization outlines three experiences that characterize burnout in particular: feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance and emotional distance from work, feeling negative or cynical related to one's work, feeling detached from various aspects of one's work. And the third thing is reduced productivity and feelings of efficacy. A sense of incompetence or a lack of productivity at work often show up. Burnout's a stress response, And so that can, again, look different in different people. It can have some serious effects on mental and physical health and cause those feelings of alienation. We see those physical changes like the stomach upset, changes in muscle tension, appetite, and sleeplessness, cognitive problems, concentrating. Sometimes making decisions can be very hard, feeling more disorganized. Emotional feelings would be moodiness, sadness, nervousness, um, feeling overwhelmed comes up often. And then leading to certain behaviors, having more uh, fatigue, apathy, disinterest in activities, changes in activities, or changes in self-care. People experiencing burnout might view their job as stressful or frustrating, and it could be easy to grow irritated with work or emotionally distance yourself during that time. So here are some signs that might key you in that burnout's occurring and you may need some additional support. Changes in those sleep or eating habits can be notable and big red flags. Unexplained physical ailments, perhaps things you've talked about with your primary care provider and have not found other causes. Chronic fatigue or lack of energy. Everyone can get run down, but this is something that even a few nights rest is not correcting. Shunning social activities, especially things that used to be enjoyable, those personal connections that are important, and kind of losing interest in those. Growing stress from daily activities that may have been routine and not overwhelming, then beginning to feel that way. And finally, uh, a red flag of substance use, over drinking or using drugs to help cope with those feelings of stress and burnout. So that brings us to resiliency. What is resiliency? I really love this quote. Resilience is not what happens to you, it's how you react to, respond, and recover from what happens to you. So, resiliency, other ways to think of it, being able to adapt to those unforeseen stressful situations and being able to bounce back from a setback. Resilience is actually a learned skill, and it can take intentionality and time and a lot of practice to really master resiliency. It's not a fixed character trait that everyone is born with. It can absolutely be learned and enhanced with intentional practices. We're going to dive into this on these next slides. How to maintain and strengthen social connections, nurture optimism, practice self-care, work to develop a purpose-driven life, and practice positive psychology. These are some key ways we can really improve resiliency. So what does this look like? Some strategies to improve your resiliency. Number one, having a healthy sense of community and connectedness. That contributes very strongly to our sense of well-being. We're social creatures. So maintaining those connections, those interpersonal interactions with people that are positive and encouraging and engaging will enhance our individual sense of well-being. Family, friends, sports groups, hobby groups, religious or cultural organizations are very important for this. Number two, nurturing optimism. When we attribute current stressors or events to temporary, specific, and not internal causes, not classifying them as permanent, universal, or caused by us, reminding ourselves that current stress will pass, and that those types of experiences might be shared or common experiences that others have been coping with too, and you can then feel less alone, or watch how others navigate similar situations or similar challenges. You can also identify those internal resources that you possess that help you deal with stressors when you look at it that way. Number 3, practicing self-care. So we've already talked about how stress really takes a toll on the body sometimes and shows up physically. So making sure to practice those healthy lifestyle behaviors so that your body can withstand the effects of those temporary intermittent stressors is really important. Most basically, that means getting quality sleep, doing the best you can to promote good sleep habits, eating nutritious foods that can be those whole foods, good, healthy options when you can. Finding opportunities for movement and exercise, and then maintaining hydration, which is always super important as well. Moving on. Oh, let me just make one other point about the last slide. If those health habits aren't easy to come by, the first step is just positive replacements. What's one thing that could be a slightly healthier option so that that doesn't feel overwhelming as well? So the fourth strategy I want to talk about to improve resiliency, developing a purpose-driven life. Now, what does that look like? Think of what a meaningful life would look like for you, and then just develop some small, achievable goals that will allow you to move closer to that vision. You can try to develop personal goals for learning. You might have exercise goals, goals for socializing, like joining one of those social groups I mentioned before, and of course, professional goals. Other goals might be developing those healthy patterns or habits. Is there a way to spend more time with your loved ones? Can you plan and cook a healthy meal together? Have regular time to engage in fun activities that everyone enjoys. And I love these types of goals. Do you see how we overlap that very first part, maintaining and encouraging social connection with some of these goals, some of these purposes? The fifth point is positive psychology. Now, what is that? It's a field that focuses on positive experiences and cultivating those. Common examples include purposefully identifying reasons for gratitude, those gratitude practices. Other examples of positive psychology include savoring the moment, which is closely related to mindfulness, like noticing the quality of the morning sunlight, paying attention to the sound of singing birds when you head outdoors. While you're driving somewhere, being aware of the feel of the road and the support of the seat behind you. If you're having a cup of coffee, just being aware of that aroma and focusing on the rich flavor if it's something you enjoy. All of those small things help anchor us in the moment and can build those positive, savoring gratitude experiences day to day. So, how to build personal resilience. Other examples we already talked about, uh, but can also look like finding time to exercise with a friend or coach, taking the time to meditate. It's really about like establishing routines that replenish you. Uh, when stress is happening, you need that rest and recharge time. Sustainable change is made incrementally. So, like I said before, building healthy habits by small replacements are often a good way to start. Ask yourself, what do I need to do to build my resilience today? What is one thing I can do that will make a difference, that will help me? Maybe it's taking that 15-minute break to walk outside or writing down 3 pieces of gratitude. It can be small, but finding something every day to really work on and practicing, establishing some type of routine that works for you. So, just to recap, practicing work life balance. How do we prevent stress, anxiety, and burnout? Setting those boundaries at work and taking breaks when needed, prioritizing things that you can. If issues arise, discuss them with a supervisor so you can problem solve and receive support if you need it. Again, that's part of that social connection that is very important. Practice those emotional techniques. So that can be relaxation training, cognitive behavioral psychotherapy, or meditation. Learn to reframe thoughts in more adaptive, healthy, or positive ways if you notice yourself falling into frequent negative tones or thought patterns. Practice self care, getting the sleep, physical activity, and eating a nutritious diet when you can. Remember, it's important to regularly practice self care. If you get off track, that's okay. Get back on track whenever you can. And self care looks different for everyone. Build that personal resilience by maintaining and strengthening those social connections. Nurture optimism. It can be difficult, but once you practice that, it can really help. Build those health habits and practice them. Develop a purpose driven life and embrace those changes, managing stress more effectively by practicing some of those pieces of positive psychology. So, with that, I will turn this back over to Katie to share some of the ways that we can support.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Markowski. A lot of great information and hopefully tidbits that people are able to take away and implement into their daily routine to help better manage, the stressors of life that we all deal with, right? So great information. Excited to get to the Q&A. So as a reminder, please feel free to enter any questions in that Q&A that you may have, and then we'll get to them at the end. But as Dr. Mikowski mentioned, we are going to take the next 5 or so minutes to review some of the related benefits, tools, and resources that are available through the Univera Healthcare plan. So, I do want to call out that while I go through these benefits and resources, it is important to note that the availability of these programs do vary by contract. So while we go through them at a high level, please note that the availability of them does vary, and we do encourage you to either log in to your Univera online account or call the customer care number on the back of your health insurance card once again to verify benefit availability and coverage. So, with that being said, the first benefit that we are going to discuss and program that we're going to review is our Find a Doctor tool. Now, of course, Dr. Mikowski mentions, if and when to seek additional care and or support, and maybe you are looking for a provider to help with that support, whether it be more for talk therapy or looking to actually access a psychiatrist, the medical professional, if you will, in the behavioral health field to support you, or maybe someone on your plan in your family is looking for that mental health support. So once again, on our Univera Healthcare online account, once you log in, you do have access to our Find a Doctor tool. So you are able to utilize that tool to search for doctors and or specialists. You're able to enter a keyword, if you will. So if you start to enter mental health or behavioral health or talk therapy, it will automatically start to pull in a corresponding search and automatically start to populate in-network providers that are applicable to that search for you. So you're able to then filter those results by items such as the languages spoken by the provider, if they are accepting new patients, and more. And then as part of that tool, you also have an estimated cost estimator tool. So that is helping to really estimate costs for any upcoming services that you may receive. So I do want to call out with the Find a Doctor and Cost Estimator tool that it is important to actually log in to your Univera Healthcare online account, as your search results will be personalized to your specific plan. So a great resource to be able to utilize if you are looking for those providers and how to find which providers are in network to support you and or someone in your family on your plan. Now, the next benefit and program that I'm going to review is our virtual care services powered through our relationship with MD Live. So, I am sure many of you are aware that virtual care has really come to the forefront, and many people look to receive their care virtually if it is an option. Maybe it is more convenient and or flexible for you. Maybe there are certain situations that you're not able to get to an in person provider. Whatever it is, you can see here based on this slide in our partnership with MD Live. It is providing our members that fast access to medical as well as behavioral health care. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. So that can be from the comfort of your own home, or maybe if you are on the go. So those support services provided through MD Live, as mentioned, you can see some of the non-emergency medical conditions and or concerns that MD Live can help support, and then as well as the behavioral health portion part of MD Live. So that can help support our members dealing with concerns or, once again, issues around addictions, anxiety, depression, PTSD, stress, grief and loss. So, understanding that once again, our members have access to MD Live, that you do have access to the virtual care through the MD Live portal and access to their providers to receive that on, virtual care if that is an option for you. So I do want to call out that the cost for the telemedicine services does vary, and that will vary based on your specific plan. So to find out your specific cost share, we do encourage you to create your MD Live account before you need it. So before, if you wake up at 3 in the morning with a sick child with a pink eye and you need to actually use it then, get it registered, get it taken care of. So if and when you do need to utilize it, it is already there and waiting. So free to register your MD Live account. Cost would be incurred if and when you actually utilize any appointment and or services. But we can see the 4 different ways to register your MD Live account. So you can go through, once again, your Univera Healthcare online member account, and under the Find a Doctor tab, there will be a telemedicine link you can click on and to register through that method. You can download the MD Live app directly and register through that platform. I do want to call out to make sure that you are entering your health insurance information as part of that registration process there, as to make sure that it is pulling in your appropriate member cost share. There is also the third option, which I think is the easiest, that is texting. So if you text the word Univera to the number 635-483, that is going to initiate a chatbot conversation with MD Live's chatbot Sophie. And within that text conversation, you're able to get your MD Live account registered. And then last but not least, if you are interested in simply calling and speaking to someone at MD Live to get registered, you're able to do so with the number we see listed here on this screen. So once again, another great benefit to our members that you may not be aware that you have available to you. So wanted to call it out, especially for that behavioral health portion, to have access to those providers such as therapists, family counselors, social workers, even up to those psychiatrists who are able to diagnose and prescribe medications if and when appropriate. So, once again, wanted to highlight that one there. Now, the next program that I want to review is our member care management team that we have here at Univera Healthcare, and one of the ways to engage with that team through the WellFrame app. So, once again, Univera Healthcare has a member care management team that is comprised of various healthcare professionals. So, that can include registered dietitians, registered nurses, respiratory therapists, behavioral health specialists, and more that are really all here ready to help support our members if and when you need us, all at no added cost to you as a member. And we can support members of all ages. So maybe it is for you yourself. Maybe it is for your child or dependent on your plan. Once again, access to that care management team to help support you. You can see you will receive personalized guidance, support, and a care plan potentially to help manage issues, whether it be for behavioral health relative to things that were mentioned, such as anxiety, depression, substance use, or maybe for more of the medical conditions, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, weight loss, or smoking cessation. Once again, this team is here for our members to be able to engage with and support you on your well-being journey. And as mentioned, you are able to connect with them. One method through Wellframe. I do want to call out, you are able to connect with them via phone and or email if interested. But the Wellframe app is a free app that our members are able to download and register your Wellframe account. I do want to call out the access code when setting up your account is Univera Welcome, all one word, all lowercase. But essentially, once you download this app and create your account, you have that access to our care management team. So you can be chatting with them directly through the secure chat feature within Wellframe, and they are able then to put out resources, push them to you right through the app to help support you on what is meaningful to you. Whether that be trying to better manage stress or better manage maybe a condition that you were recently diagnosed with. So, once again, another great resource many members are unaware of. They have access to this team as well as that Wellframe app to help connect with them and get that additional support they may be looking for. All right, moving right along, the next benefit that I want to review is our Vitalize program, which is powered through our relationship with Personify Health. So, this is a digital home base for our members' health and well being. Through this platform, you're able to engage in a variety of healthy activities, whether that be maybe learning about a topic or engaging in challenges or well being journeys, or just tracking things to help stay accountable. There is also a health risk assessment health check through the platform that is able to look at your current habits, identify where those opportunities may lay overall to help improve your well being, whether it is trying to be more physically active or trying to eat healthier, or maybe trying to once again better manage those stress levels as we all are. So, once again, this benefit, a great opportunity to help support your overall well being. Benefit specific, once again, calling that out, it does vary based on eligibility. But with that being said, I do want to call out that once again, some of our members do have access to Headspace through Vitalize. So many are familiar with the Headspace brand, and it is a mindfulness and meditation app that is able to once again help to provide you practical tips, tools, and strategy to better manage your stress while building resiliency, as Dr. Mikowski alluded to. So, through Headspace, you have access to resources such as sleep stories, whether it be the sleep casts, music, different meditations, different stretches and/or musics to help really stay focused. So, once again, a great benefit to be able to access if available, and you can directly access it through that Vitalize platform. Underneath the benefits section, there will be a Headspace for work to then create that Headspace account and unlock the tools and resources there to support your well being. All right. Well, with that being said, a lot of information covered here. So we have a little over 10 minutes left, and we want to be able to get to questions that anyone may have. So once again, I encourage you go into that Q&A, ask any questions. I will go into that now, see if there are any in there currently, but I do encourage you once again, go in there, ask any other questions. So what we do have one already, Dr. Mikowski. What would you say is the best way to approach someone outside of yourself if you think they may be experiencing burnout? So maybe it's a coworker, friend, or family member that you recognize something's going on. Maybe you think they're experiencing burnout. What would you say the best way to approach them to help support them is?
Yeah, I think that is an important distinction. What is your relationship to that person, right? Because you may have more opportunities to help someone in your family in a different way versus a coworker, a colleague, right? Um, if it is someone in your family, like thinking back to some of those resiliency pieces that I mentioned earlier in the presentation, those social connections, if it's a friend or something, somebody that you have that personal relationship, sometimes inviting them into something, an activity, giving them an opportunity for that social connection can be a really strong way to help them. Or even, kind of signing up for class together or something that's recurring, making a point to call on a Friday for that family member that's out of state every Friday. So you may have ways to have meaningful interactions with that person. Um, when it comes to practicing self care, sometimes that can be very hard when people are weathering high stress loads, right? So, supporting them to be able to do some of those healthy activities, if it's a little hard for them to start and engage, if you're able to help bring your friend a healthy meal if they're going through a hard time with stress. Um, Giving options like that, asking someone to go for a walk, those can be great ways to engage. And if you're part of a work team, here we are, a remote presentation. I assume people have potentially some remote work habits, encouraging a member to take a meeting while walking outside, for instance, or having a meeting outside if you're in person, and do a walking meeting. Like uh, those things could be really enjoyable, not just for the person you may want to encourage, but also for yourself. So what a great thing to do. But certainly checking in with a team member, that's still such an important social connection and building that type of thing. So those are just, a couple ideas, but certainly I'm sure people have other ideas or ways that they've reached out to others. And you can probably think of examples based on some of those ideas we shared earlier too. So always wonderful to collaborate. So if people have ideas of ways that they want to share that they've used, I think that's also a wonderful way to use our chat today. I love those conversations.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. And really like your thought process. I am somebody who truly believes that getting outside, even for just a few minutes for some fresh air, really does help to reset my mind, especially when I feel those stress levels really building up. And something that I personally have heard of and wondering if you can allude to it a little bit more is something around grounding or a grounding exercise. Are you familiar with that? And can you touch base on that a little bit?
Yeah. Grounding techniques really kind of are based in that mindfulness idea and noticing the moment, noticing the present moment and the present activity. And a lot of times that's based in noticing something with as many of our senses as possible. So I'm going to go back to that cup of a hot drink. I know we're not quite in winter right now, but think of like a cup of hot cocoa or a warm coffee. You have the temperature of the cup and the liquid as you're drinking it, which you can focus on and experience and really think about the heat and that sensation, right? The physical sensation. You can think about the flavor of the drink and engage that taste scent, the smell, if you take a nice deep breath and kind of enjoy the scent as well, the aroma. Um, you know, those are all important things. Using a lovely mug or just appreciating what your barista wrote to you that day. I mean, taking a moment to look at what's in front of you, right? And where you're at. So trying to engage as many senses as you can. And doing that with this example, you could see how that might take 60 seconds to kind of run through your senses and see how many you can engage with in a moment. This can be helpful to distract yourself away from something that's really stressful. Say you have a presentation coming up or a big task that you need to get started with, and you just need a break for a minute to kind of center yourself, ground yourself. That type of technique with grounding, using mindfulness and the five senses is really helpful to kind of reset.
Absolutely. And if anyone else on this call is like me, I tend to find when I am stressed, it's my mind either wandering to past experiences, right? Or it's maybe looking forward to the future and anticipating something, going wrong in the future. So I think to that point of the grounding exercise, like you said, it's bringing you to that moment, right? It's not to say the stress and what's causing that stress is going to go away by doing the grounding exercises, but it's almost resetting your brain, right? Kind of rewiring it to allow yourself to take that breath, regroup, and then be able to, something else you mentioned in that quote is to react versus respond. And I really like that. And that's how I try to approach whenever I have any situation, but I think that is so meaningful and impactful for people to remember is trying to respond and assess the situation before react, which is typically kind of, flying off the handle and giving those emotions that sense of urgency right there, right? So,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Katie, and I just want to say, we're all human. We
Right?
all have moments where we don't respond in this best ideal way, right? We can all find examples in life where we could go back and, do something better or do something different. So I think, not beating yourself up. If you do get overwhelmed or stressed, or you are in this, an unhealthy pattern or a negative pattern, just realizing it's okay to stop and reassess, and tweak one thing, do one thing differently, try that 1 minute of a mindfulness exercise, download your Headspace app and commit to using it like once this week or something, wherever you're starting. um, that's okay, because we all have days where we don't handle things well too.
Absolutely. And I think we are all looking for just those practical tip strategy like you mentioned that can help to really bring that all together. So couple other exercises that somebody mentioned something about breathing exercises. Are you familiar with breathing exercises and how that can help to better manage stress?
Yeah, I think, there are a lot of different types of breathing exercises. Some people are familiar with different like yoga breaths. You can go on, different apps, and there can be some exercises that will guide you and introduce you to that. Sometimes I think of a box. It's something called box breathing, but I just visualize a box, a square. I breathe in the same amount of time, I hold it the same amount of time, exhale the same amount of time, and then hold again the same amount of time before breathing again. This is one way to kind of reset that sympathetic nervous system a little bit. For some people, that type of intentional breathing technique um, can help. Now, I will say, not everything works for everyone the same way. Some people are like, oh my gosh, I hate yoga, I hate meditation, breathing techniques. I just feel more anxious when I do that. That's okay. There are other things you can try. So if one of these things does not work for you, does not support your best self and resiliency and feeling well, it is okay to try something else. Maybe it's a certain technique. There are some kinds of breathing techniques I don't like because I feel like, oh my gosh, I have to breathe sooner. I can't wait that long. So
Ah,
yeah, so
too
you might
funny.
try different things and
Yep.
see what works for you too. But
Awesome.
that's how it works. It helps lessen that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response that's getting very high, and brings that level of reactivity down physiologically to be helpful. Um,
No.
yeah.
Thank you. All right, with basis of time, just one last question we'll get to. We did have someone ask that they work in healthcare and they often deal with situations where coworkers, customers, and/or patients can escalate situations, and then it sets the tone for this person to have maybe a bad day. So, any go-to tips for calming down the person that they may be interacting with when they're upset or anxious? How to help have a more productive conversation and potentially decrease the stress for everyone involved in that situation.
Yeah, this is a really great question. I love this
Agreed.
question. It's so thoughtful. As a psychiatrist, these are skills we've learned and practiced for years. So I will say these are challenging situations when this happens. Dealing with somebody whose emotions are high, things might be inflamed and very uncomfortable. One of the first most important things to do is to just recognize that this is their experience, and that you do not have to respond the same way. They may have reasons for their experience, their emotions. You're a separate person, and you can continue to meet this challenge yourself, uh, kind of keeping yourself calm as much as possible. You do not have to respond with anger to anger, right? So if you can just recognize that you are separate from this person, that that's their personal experience of the moment, and try to, kind of maintain your composure. I know that is hard, but just remembering you are separate can sometimes help. It can also, be helpful to remember that, uh, you know, you are meeting the moment with all of your skills, all of your resources, and doing the best you can. It may still not be uh, perfect for somebody else's experience. They may still have those emotions and challenges or stressors that they're dealing with that you may or may not be able to fix in that moment, but you are using all of your best skills and resources and doing your best in that situation. So I think that can be helpful, just taking that deep breath, recognize that you are doing your best and you are meeting the situation as best you can. Sometimes just taking your time, keeping your voice calm, and trying to work through things productively as best you can is the most you can do. So that is often very helpful.
Thank you. As you mentioned, great question. Thank you for that response, Dr. Mikowski, and thank you once again for all of the information that you shared with us today. In the Q&A, I am going to post the link to, once again, where this webinar that is recorded will be housed, typically within a week following the live webinar, with additional resources you can access underneath there. So with that being said, once again, thank you all for taking the lunch hour to join us here today. Dr. Mikowski, your insights were so informative and impactful. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate it. We hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you.